What is going on, guys? It is WrestleLamia here, back with another video. The WWE's Extreme Rules pay-per-view was an excellent show, but even the best of shows can have their snafus. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as we look at 2019's Extreme Rules mishaps and miscues, aka Botches. Number 1. Pre-show slip-up. WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix joined the Extreme Rules pre-show panel, talking up the night's various matches, but at one point she slipped up mentioning the big dog, Seth Rollins. Phoenix wasn't the only announcer who had difficulties though, as during the pre-show Cruiserweight match, Nigel McGuinness called Tony Nese Tony Gulak. Anytime you have Jonathan Coachman, Sam Roberts, Charlie Caruso and Beth Phoenix together, gaffes are certainly gonna happen. By the way, does anyone else think the WWE is grooming Beth Phoenix to give Renee Young the boot? This might be a reality after knowing Renee's huge slip-up later on in the show. Number 2. Cruiserweight Klutz. The Cruiserweight Championship bout between Drew Gulak and former champion Tony Nese was the action-packed spot fest fans of 205 Live enjoy every week on the WWE Network. While the match didn't get the time it should have, it was still entertaining, but like any other match involving high-performance moves, there was a mistake, this one occurring when Nese hit a 450 splash on the champion. The problem here was that Nese normally splashes his opponents, but here he came down with his knees across Gulak's chest. The announcers pointed out the botch, attempting to cover for Nese, but it was clear to anyone who's familiar with Nese's moveset that this was a botch. Number 3. Guitar Gaff. The guitar has been a weapon of choice for WWE superstars ever since the days of the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time and WWE Hall of Famer the Honky Tonk Man, a grappler who relied on his stringed instrument as his weapon of choice. Elias has carried on this proud tradition by employing his guitar as needed, and needed it was last night when The Undertaker looked to have things going his way against Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon. Elias ran in and broke a guitar over Taker's back, but for whatever reason, splinters from the guitar lodged in the dead man's back with both shoulders bleeding. It could have been worse though, just ask Jake the Snake Roberts, who took what was supposed to be a gimmick guitar to the back, only to find out it wasn't gimmicked, resulting in a long-term neck injury. Number 4. Tombstone Trouble. Anyone who thinks The Undertaker's career ended at Super Showdown's much maligned main event against Goldberg needs to watch the dead man redeem himself at Extreme Rules. There, the Phenom looked excellent, working well in his tag match alongside Roman Reigns against Shane O'Mac and the Scottish Psychopath. Nonetheless, there was one mistake when Taker went to Tombstone Shane McMahon. Either Shane and or The Undertaker mistimed the move, resulting in The Undertaker having to drop Shane and pick him back up, successfully performing the move on the second take. Nonetheless, this was one of the best matches of the night, and there's no question The Undertaker still has some gas left in his tank, botch or not. Some are speculating The Undertaker will go one-on-one against Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, and if Taker can keep up in a singles match as well as he did in the tag match, it could be another one for the ages. Number 5. Shane is what? Now we have to give the commentators the credit they deserve, even Michael Cole, as it's impossible to deliver 100% perfection over the headset for a whole pay-per-view show without any slip-ups. However, Renee Young could have made a huge slip-up during the opening bout, as when the dead man whipped Shane into the turnbuckle corner with some authority, the words "Shane is" could be heard from Renee. Now, we're fully aware that WWE wants to push the boundary for edgier content, but that might have been way too far. However, Renee clarified on Twitter that she said rocked. Come on, it sounded like the F-bomb to us. Number 6. Continuity Confusion Part 1. The WWE has always had problems maintaining continuity, so much so that when they do maintain continuity, it usually results in something awesome happening. WrestleLamia gives the WWE announce team props for pointing out the various stipulations of each match, which was good considering all the different matches, but there were times when the rules for tag matches made no sense. The first instance was the no-holds-barred tag match between Roman Reigns and The Undertaker against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. During the match, the 4-man tagged out, but at another point, it was every man for himself as Shane and the Scottish Psychopath double-teamed The Undertaker outside the ring, soon to be assisted by Elias. The announcers pointed out that the match was no-holds-barred, so Elias could interfere. But with that being the case, why did anyone bother to tag in and out? Sure, it may fit some semblance of order early on, but the announcers could easily have explained the situation with a few comments in the match's opening seconds. Instead, fans were left scratching their heads as to what was going on with the rulebook. It's normally thrown out in most cases, but of course most fans were probably too busy enjoying the suspenseful opening bout that easily could have main evented Extreme Rules. Number 7. Where's Lashley and Strowman? The last man standing match between Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman exceeded fans' expectations for a knockdown slobber knocker between two of the WWE's toughest and biggest superstars. Both men sacrificed their bodies to entertain the fans, taking some hard bumps, whether it was smashing through the ring barricade or anything else they could lay waste to. As you might expect with a match like this, Lashley and Strowman left the ring, brawling their way through the audience and making their way throughout the arena. Unfortunately, the WWE's usually adept camera crew lost sight of the two for anywhere between 30 to 60 seconds. While we don't know if there were technical difficulties or a miscue by the wrestlers and or camera operators, the crew finally caught up with Strowman and Lashley battling it out near a WWE merchandise stand. Thankfully, the only damage done was to Seth Rollins' The Man's Man t-shirt. Number 8. The Phantom Push. No, we're not talking about the WWE's annoying habit of claiming to push fan favourites such as Rusev only for the push to disappear into thin air. This Phantom Push occurred during the Lashley vs Strowman match when Lashley ran at Strowman and went to push him over the announcer's table. Unfortunately, Lashley was slightly off, resulting in the Monster Among Men having to perform the bump unaided. Later, Lashley jumped over a barricade at Strowman and it appeared Strowman was supposed to catch him. Bobby seemed to fall short of the mark, but Strowman compensated, grabbed his opponent and sent Lashley flying, continuing their action-packed brawl. Strowman has come a long way in the ring, and we can only hope his career gets back on track. Number 9. Lacey Evans bounces a chair off Becky Lynch's head. The winners take all main event between defending champions Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and the team of Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans featured several weapon spots including a healthy dose of steel chairs. But during one spot, Lacey Evans had a chair lifted over her head, but Becky Lynch beat her to the proverbial punch, jabbing Evans in the gut with a chair. Unfortunately for the man, Evans accidentally threw the chair rather than dropping it, and it bounced off Lynch's head. Lynch didn't bother selling the chair shot and instead continued her assault on Lacey Evans. Number 10. Continuity Confusion Part 2. As we mentioned earlier, the WWE's announced team made it a point to know each match's specific rules. For example, during the US Championship match, they went out of their way to point out that US Champion Ricochet had the champion's advantage since this was a regular match and that the champion retains in the event of a disqualification or countout. Likewise, the announcers informed the fans during the triple threat match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship that a rope break would not force Daniel Bryan to release the label lock he had on Big E because the match was no disqualification. However, there was no mention of the special stipulation for the main event winners take all bout, other than Corbin and Evans would get the Universal Championship and Raw Women's Championship if they won, and they'd be denied future title shots if they lost. Thus, how were all 4 participants able to use various weapons such as chairs and kendo sticks? It was sloppy booking that took away from a surprisingly good match. Continuity and consistency are vital to credibility, and here the WWE definitely slipped up. Number 11. Putting the Universal Championship back on Brock Lesnar. Now, unless the WWE comes up with a storyline of the century where Lesnar drops the belt at SummerSlam, putting the Universal Championship on part-timer Brock Lesnar was the biggest botch of the night. Indeed, we feel the move ruined what was the WWE's best show of the year. Raw needs a full-time champion and Brock Lesnar is not going to show up on a regular basis like former champion Seth Rollins has since winning the belt at WrestleMania 35. The WWE certainly over-delivered with Extreme Rules right up until Lesnar's cash-in. This could be one of the WWE's biggest reversals since it tried restoring the fans' faith in the promotion's creative capabilities. If this turns out well, we'll gladly say it wasn't a botch and WrestleLamia is hoping we are proved wrong. But for now, we're very cautious given the WWE's history of keeping the Red brand's top title on someone who shows up less often than a blue moon. And an honourable mention, the WWE releases Mick Foley shirts. Ever wondered what happened to former WWE announcer and ex-Raw general manager Mike Adamle, the man who once called Jeff Hardy Jeff Harvey, amongst a number of other verbal miscues? Well, we can't help but wonder if Mike is working for merchandise company 500 Level, which made a major mistake with a t-shirt honouring WWE legend Mankind. According to Ringside News, 500 Level was selling a t-shirt for Mankind in the line of WWE merchandise. Keep in mind that these shirts are officially licensed, so they were approved by the company. The design says Mankind and says "Have a nice day," but what is really getting our attention is that the fact that it says Mike Foley as well. Now whilst this isn't an official Extreme Rules miscue, Foley is an Extreme legend and it's too funny not to mention. But there you have it guys, 11 botches from Extreme Rules. Did you catch all these foul-ups, and if so, did it take away from your enjoyment of the show? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.